Joe Bastianich has ruffled more feathers than anyone else in the MasterChef kitchen. He's torn into contestants, embarrassed workers with rude comments, and even made ableist remarks. Today we're looking at the many people Joe Bastianich has clashed with and how his attitude affected them, starting with Howard Simpson. Howard walked into season 4 of MasterChef with a story the show clearly wanted viewers to notice. He was a young barback from San Diego and a former army soldier who had served in Afghanistan. He spoke openly about his reasons for joining the show. He explained in an interview that his goal was to show that passion matters more than background. He also addressed the way combat veterans are often misunderstood. Too many people assume that they're broken or dangerous when most are not. Joe Bastianich leaned into that early. He spoke kindly to Howard's grandmother and talked up his potential.
Has a ton of potential.
Helping him earn an apron came with high expectations, but Joe soon pulled back from that warmth. There was one challenge where Howard got pricey ingredients and turned them into a very plain salad that hardly featured the key ingredient, and it didn't go over well with the judges.
This is a joke. I don't know what to say. You know I'm not a rabbit.
But Joe took it even further than the others. He lost his temper and went beyond criticizing the dish.
And told everyone how good you were.
Absolutely.
You're in a landslide.
Yep.
This is a waste of our time. At this point, if it were up to me, I'd throw you out. I put my ass on the line for you, and that's the you give me?
Even the comments from that episode made it clear that many viewers saw Joe as cruel. One comment summed it up perfectly. Joe makes Gordon seem like the sweeter one. Considering what Gordon's capable of, that's saying a lot. By that point, Joe's approach was starting to look less like tough judging and more like personal hostility. Then came the raw fish incident.
Even without tasting it, you know immediately it's raw. It won't even separate.
Serving uncooked fish in a competition kitchen is never a good idea, but still, Joe's response went straight to humiliation.
This kind of is what pisses us off, and these kind of dishes are what send you home.
That act was meant to send a message, but it also crossed the line. Was the goal to teach or to put the contestant in his place? Things reached the breaking point at episode 9 of season 4 of MasterChef during the pasta challenge, which Joe's mother judged. Howard tried to put his own spin on agnolotti by using bold spices and flavors he liked, but unfortunately the dish did not work, and even Joe's mother pointed that out.
Yeah, what I got here is a mouthful of peppers.
Okay.
It's not harmonious with a pasta dish like this. Classics work and they're appreciated time after time. Otherwise, they wouldn't be called classic.
That should have been enough, but Joe didn't bother tasting it and jumped straight to the insults.
Minutes left, then you come up here and get misty-eyed with us like, oh, poor me again, I got screwed up, and I'm getting tired of it. Because if you were smart, you would duplicate a plate on everything you make because you want to show us how cutesy and intelligent and crafty you are. Well, that's going to get you a one-way ticket back to wherever you came from. And then you could show your friends and the 6 people who told you were good. Who can't boil is a narcissist in full denial. Thank you for nothing.
Viewers quickly spoke up online with comments like, Joe's comeback on Howard was so brutal, even Gordon bit his lip. Ironic how Joe called Howard a narcissist. Maybe he should look in the mirror. Man, he was tough on Howard. I basically agree with most of what he said, but ripping him like that in front of everybody was over the top. I think even Gordon, Big Boy, and Mama thought so. To be clear, Howard did himself no favors. His cooking was often weak and he made excuses. Those flaws were real, but none of that justified turning criticism into personal attacks. Joe had every reason to criticize the food, but he didn't have to tear down the person behind it. During elimination, Howard found himself up against another contestant, Lynn. Ramsay made it clear that one of them had reached the end and needed to leave on their own terms. Without hesitation, Howard showed he was ready to bow out. After the show, Howard tried to stay in food. He first worked in bar management and later mentioned in an interview that he went back to school, enrolling in the Art Institute of California in Orange County to study hospitality and food and beverage management. Over time, he worked his way into professional kitchen roles, serving as a chef at places like Hillstone Restaurants in Denver and Bandera Restaurant in Los Angeles. So, despite how things ended on the show, he clearly kept pushing and tried to make it work in the industry. But that didn't last forever. Howard stayed in restaurant work and management until 2019, then stepped away from food completely. He moved into a different line of work and opened his own car detailing business. For someone who was publicly torn down by Joe the way he was, it's not hard to wonder how much those moments and those words stayed with him, especially since years later, he chose to walk away from the industry altogether and start over in something completely different. But Howard's story was not the last time Joe's behavior raised eyebrows. The next incident didn't happen in a kitchen. It happened in a nail salon in Milan and aired during season 7 of MasterChef Italia. The salon was in Milan's Chinatown, around Via Paolo Sarpi, where a Chinese community has lived for a long time and set up a lot of shops, restaurants, and small businesses. In this segment, Joe Bastianich was filmed walking into one of the nail salons to get a manicure and pedicure. The women working on him were Chinese and were doing their jobs on camera while Joe chatted freely. At first, the exchange seemed casual. Joe talked and joked while the workers focused on their work, only to start correcting their Italian. That alone started making things awkward.
Graziella.
Graziella.
Difficile, Graziella.
Perché è difficile?
Perché lei è di Roma, per noi cinesi è difficilissimo.
Dicevo cosa?
Lei è di Roma?
Ere. Roma.
Roma, no.
No, non Noma, Roma.
Roma.
Instead of easing off, Joe leaned into it. He kept steering the conversation in ways that put the women on the spot. He then asked one of them a set of personal questions that just made things a lot worse.
Allora, hai trovato un fidanzato italiano o fidanzato cinese? Sei single?
Sì.
Ma è mai uscito tipo una serata romantica con un uomo italiano?
These had nothing to do with the salon or the show. Joe had turned a normal service interaction into something personal. Even though the woman answered politely, it was obvious she was getting visibly uncomfortable. That would have been the perfect time to quit. Of course, Joe didn't get the memo. What followed were comments targeting Chinese men.
Dicono, non so io personalmente che gli uomini cinesi hanno un po' di difetti, a volte sono un po' curti. Sono non adeguati in certe situazioni.
Da questo per me è difficile.
Ma dobbiamo affrontare quel discorso perché la realtà è quella roba lì.
It was clear these were sexual jokes built on stereotypes, and he took it even further. The conversation took a strange turn with comments that caught everyone off guard. All of this played out while these women were simply doing their jobs. Joe was the famous judge calling the shots, while they had no real way to stop him, change the subject, or walk away. When you're in that position, restraint is expected, and Joe didn't seem to care. Also, his reasoning didn't stand a chance. He claimed earlier that the conversation was important, yet nobody invited it. If the point was culture, why bring it down to sex jokes? That's a pretty big disconnect. Once the clip went viral, the response was quick. Viewers labeled the comments as racist and sexist. One person said, "I can understand why Bastianich is considered a jerk. Why would someone constantly correct another person's pronunciation?" Another added, "There are so many amazing chefs of different races, cultures, and genders who use their platform for good. There's no need to keep supporting this awful man with your money." And someone else pointed out, "And should he be airing his big, skinny, gross feet and talking about food? Meanwhile, the women are being bullied into answering stupid questions. He should be thrown in jail for harassment." Plenty more comments popped off, insulting Joe and calling out his attitude. The clip also blew up as proof that his behavior wasn't just tough judging, but crossed the line into straight-up disrespect. It also matched the bigger pattern people had already noticed. Joe has been accused for a while of having narrow views about food and culture, especially anything beyond Europe. One person commented, "I've long suspected Bastianich was racist against Asians ever since he said on MasterChef that European food is much more refined than Asian food." The timing also made things worse. Around the same period, his business partner Mario Batali was facing serious allegations of sexual misconduct. Their restaurant group came under investigation for harassment and retaliation. That context totally changed how people saw Joe's salon comment. It stopped feeling like a one-off bad joke and started looking like a typical power move gone wrong. Joe responded with an apology saying, "This was a scripted segment shot in a Milan nail salon that I've gone to regularly. I know the women and we were given the questions to discuss in advance. That said, it's clear that some of what I said was in poor taste and not reflective of my views. I'm sorry I said these things." Lots of viewers weren't buying it. Scripted or not, he still said those words. Just because it wasn't planned doesn't wipe away the damage, and knowing someone doesn't mean you get a free pass to embarrass them on camera. Still, none of the backlash slowed his career down. Joe continued working on television in Italy and even made his way back to MasterChef in the United States later that same year. The investigation into his restaurant group ended with a settlement of $600,000 paid to former employees. Even then, his public role stayed intact. What the salon clip really left behind wasn't just anger, but perspective. It added another group to the list of people who felt talked over, cornered, or put down by Joe. It wasn't the last time Joe ended up at the center of that kind of dynamic either. The same behavior showed up again and again, mostly affecting those who couldn't stand up for themselves. Dara Yu returned to MasterChef as someone very different from the kid viewers remembered. She was no longer the 12-year-old bow-wearing finalist from MasterChef Junior. She was a trained chef with genuine experience, real credentials, and years spent working in professional kitchens. By the time she stepped into season 12, she had studied at the Culinary Institute of America and built a clear identity as a focused, skilled cook. She also trained under Cronut creator Dominique Ansel, working with him at both his New York bakery and restaurant. She came back knowing she would be judged harder than most. This season, MasterChef had 20 past contestants and 2 former junior stars, including Dara Yu, all competing for a second shot, which put plenty of pressure on her. If she failed, people could say she was only there because of nostalgia. If she succeeded, she had to prove she belonged on merit alone. That made every critique heavier, especially when it came from Joe Bastianich. The moment that caused problems happened during a mystery box challenge designed by Christine Ha. The task was to cook a Vietnamese dish using all 11 staple ingredients in the box. The challenge was meant to celebrate Vietnamese food and the skill it takes to balance those flavors. Dara went for a duck rice porridge that was classic with no flashy extras, just straight up tradition done right. Once the judges tasted it, they were sold, and Christine was impressed beyond measure.
Porridge is a very humble dish. It's something I grew up not really liking because my mom only cooked it when I was sick, but you've managed to make this humble dish into something that is very elevated.
Dara was clearly proud, and she had every reason to be. Then Joe had his say. It wasn't even his usual tough critique, but he still managed to mess it up.
What you did is take Vietnamese flavors and techniques and somehow manipulated them into seeming like it's a European Michelin-starred dish. It's got a lot of explosions of flavor. Every bite's a mystery and a discovery at the same time.
On the surface, that seemed like praise. In reality, it was packed with bias. Joe made it sound like the dish was good only because it leaned more European. This was not just a poor choice of words. It revealed how Joe measures value. In a challenge meant to honor Vietnamese cooking, that framing missed the point completely. Viewers picked up on this immediately, and it was buzzing on platforms like Reddit. One wrote, "As an Asian person, hearing what he said about Dara's dish is, at best, irritating. There's a clear pattern of this from him, and I'm tired of it." Joe's comment reinforces the idea that you can only make it if you cook more European, which is bullshit. Dara cooked an amazing dish in a challenge that is tailored to highlight Vietnamese cuisine, and you're going to compliment it by saying it's good because it's more European-like? Another added, "You could see how uncomfortable Dara looked after he made that comment." And someone else said, "I couldn't believe it either. Vietnamese food is already influenced by French colonialism. It felt super tone-deaf to me. The fact that he has no palate outside of European food is astounding." In the end, Dara's dish earned a place in the top cut, and Gordon Ramsay made it clear she wasn't to be underestimated due to her age.
And so, if anyone thinks that you're the youngest and the underdog, they need to think again. Good job. Thank you.
Dara Yu clearly earned her spot, so Joe's comment just didn't match up, which made it feel even more pointless. By the end of it all, Dara went on to win the entire season, becoming the youngest champion in the show's history. Her win made Joe's take look even weaker. Dara's dishes didn't need a European twist to shine. She nailed it just by being herself. Her career after the show only reinforced that point. She leaned into pop-ups and food rooted in her background. Joe wanted to praise her by throwing Europe into the mix, but Dara proved she never needed that measure in the first place. Holding certain standards above others is nothing new for Joe. For this next person, that outlook became a defining part of their experience. Before MasterChef, Bethy was already familiar to an audience beyond just her kitchen. Back then, she was still a high school PE teacher in Oregon and also hosted Adrenaline Hunter, a show all about extreme outdoor adventures. She coached, taught cooking classes, led youth groups, and stayed busy almost all the time. Cooking was her way to slow down and reset after long days. That mix of energy and discipline is why casting took interest in her. At first, she mostly blended into the background on the show. Then everything shifted during the Mushroom Elimination Challenge. The setup already put her in a tough spot. Another contestant had chosen wild mushrooms as the main ingredient and decided who got fresh mushrooms and who got canned ones. Bethy landed in the group with the fresh mushrooms, which raised expectations right away. With better ingredients comes less room for error. She decided to prepare a Szechuan-style mushroom dish served with homemade noodles. She then went on to explain what led her to pick this particular dish.
I love mushrooms with Asian flavors, so I didn't think that would be a common theme tonight, so I wanted to go that route.
It was a clear decision to lean into Asian flavors instead of playing it safe with a French or Italian dish. But when the judging started, the tone quickly shifted. At first, Graham Elliott opened with a fair point.
The first thing that hits me is this overwhelming flavor of sesame and ginger.
Okay.
So anything else after that, I'm missing because that's all I get.
But then came Joe Bastianich.
When I heard that you were doing something Asian, I was a little bit surprised, first of all, because I just don't think it's the right kind of mushroom. These mushrooms are definitely scream something Eurocentric, either French or Italian or, something much more refined.
That's where he crossed the line. It stopped being about skill and started being a dig at the cuisine. Basically, Asian food didn't make the cut because it wasn't refined enough. While the other judges stuck to technique, calling out balance and missing mushroom flavor, Joe claimed she'd done the mushrooms an injustice. None of that fits the actual mistake. Too much ginger is an easy fix, but saying an entire cuisine can't handle good ingredients is bias, not feedback. Across social media, people called out Joe's comments as unfair. One user wrote, "He's done this in previous seasons, saying that Asian dishes aren't refined enough for his palate, even when someone like Gordon makes a contestant cook Asian. And it's a shame. Asian food, with its various spices and flavors, is so much better than Italian cuisine, at least in my opinion." Another said, "He's such a racist. Constantly thinks Europe is the highest level of cuisine, and it's not." A third added, "After watching that episode, I could never take him seriously anymore. He knows nothing about any cuisine that isn't Italian or French." Then after watching him praise salted cherries in the season 5 finale as if it was the second coming of Christ, bought his way into the industry with money and would be a nobody if he started off as a regular Joe. This is just one of those moments people bring up when talking about Joe's take on non-European food. He tends to lump all Asian dishes into one box, and it's never on the top shelf. It's been the same story for a while now. In that very round, Bethy ended up being eliminated, but the story didn't end there. Right before she left, Joe made a comment.
I think more than showing us in America that you can cook, you've showed us the work ethic and an ability to perform on a consistent level. If I had to hire one person in this room to work in a restaurant, it would be you.
Thank you.
Joe's "I'd hire you" line sounds empty after he just said the mushrooms Bethy used don't fit Asian cuisine. The praise didn't erase the damage, it only highlighted the inconsistency. After the show, Bethy didn't slow down. She kept cooking, sharing her skills through classes, running catering services, and eventually launching her own food truck. Her hard work paid off when she got the chance to represent Oregon in a national seafood competition. That moment from the show didn't faze her, but it did show something important. Most of Joe's harshest critiques end up revealing more about his own limits than anything about the person he's judging. The next cook learned that lesson up close and personal. This time around, Joe Bastianich's issue was not a bad dish or a failed challenge, but a refusal to respect the cook standing in front of him. That cook was Gerron Hurt, an English teacher from Kentucky who cared deeply about his students. He had been learning to cook since childhood, and that background shaped everything he put on the plate. His food came from home, memory, and routine. It was Southern food, and he never tried to hide that. Joe Bastianich never seemed sold on Gerron. In the auditions, Gerron's was Joe's 7th pick out of 8, quietly slotted into the underdog role.
I'd like to offer it to Gerron.
Yeah.
What I like about you is you have the hunger.
And once that label was set, it never really went away. Gerron spent the rest of the season quietly proving everyone wrong. Meanwhile, Joe stayed doubtful. His main complaint was that Gerron stayed too close to his roots. That became obvious during a conversation they had on the hometown visit, just a week before the big finale.
Anytime I can stay true to my roots, it's gave me positive results.
I'll tell you what, it's got to be elevated, though.
It does.
I'm going to give you some advice. Think like you're in like a really luxurious restaurant in a city like New York or Paris. Flavor, presentation, sophistication. But as much as I think sticking to your roots is fundamental, make sure you bring the level.
Joe telling Gerron to add some flair and go for that upscale feel is pretty standard judge talk. The problem was how Joe made it sound like staying true to your roots was a mistake. Like that's what's stopping Gerron from shining. It got way worse during the finale. While Gerron was proudly explaining where his appetizer inspiration came from, Joe wasn't having any of it.
If you go down south and you have Nashville hot chicken, your options are a coleslaw or a potato salad. That's exactly what I wanted to provide you guys, a taste of me on a plate.
You know, Gerron, I appreciate that. And you are so bound to that tradition that it's been great, and it's got you to here. But now, not everything has to be a strict reference to where you come from anymore. It's time for you to fly.
One of the other judges, Aaron Sanchez, actually had to step in and flat out disagree with Joe.
I disagree with you, Joe. I think this is exactly what MasterChef is intended to do, to bring out the best in you with us helping you with technique. So this says so much about your evolution.
Next up, Gerron presented his main dish, a classic shrimp and grits. He said he cooked it in honor of his mom, and the other judges were really impressed by the dish.
Gerron, the fact that you can cook shrimp with this technique, I love it.
Creamy, heavy, shrimp cooked beautifully. And then the grits. It's so nice to see grits elevated to the Premier League of flavors. Well done.
But Joe, he wasn't quite satisfied.
My question is, Gerron, as your mentor, was tonight your opportunity to leave your past behind and dive into the unknown, to just show us how far you really come? That's the only question I keep asking myself. Cooking a French, inspired dish is not abandoning your story. It's opening the chapter in the book of Gerron. And at some point, when you make such progress in your journey, you have to end one chapter and begin another. It's very, very difficult for me to decide what I feel right now. Thank you, Gerron.
Instead of giving credit for real growth, Joe kept pushing Gerron to ditch everything familiar and chase something totally new, like telling someone to wipe their story clean just because it doesn't fit Joe's version of progress. Cooking a dish inspired by his roots wasn't enough. Joe still wanted Gerron to act like he had to start from scratch to prove himself. What's funny is that Joe's whole career is built on celebrating Italian food. He never left his roots behind, but actually doubled down on them. So asking Gerron to do the opposite just shows a clear double standard. Meanwhile, Gerron didn't lash out. He stayed calm and explained himself.
Tonight was about showcasing skill, but also staying true to my family.
Then things took a surprising twist during the final deliberation when Joe admitted to something nobody ever thought he would.
You know, if in the beginning you came on my journey, now I feel like I'm on your journey.
Wow.
I was completely wrong in thinking that you should venture out into doing other cuisines and other techniques that don't pertain to you. You stuck to your root, and you know what? You were right, and I was wrong.
Joe certainly doesn't apologize often. After spending the whole season putting Gerron down for staying true to himself, this one moment felt far from enough to make up for it. When the final answer was announced and Gerron won, that was all the statement anyone needed. Gerron didn't just take home the prize, He proved that keeping it real is the way to go. After his win, he decided to leave teaching and pursue cooking full-time. By 2019, he had opened a restaurant dedicated to Southern cuisine. Recently, he's been offering private events and family-friendly cooking lessons. Joe's attitude toward Gerron follows the same old script. He thinks real progress means going European and treats other food styles like something to escape from. He had to own up to being wrong here, but that didn't make the stress Gerron dealt with disappear. It just showed how flimsy Joe's original critique was. Joe's old routine didn't leave much room for surprises, but this next person flipped the script in ways Joe didn't anticipate. Like Gerron, Christine Ha brought her own unique story and passion to the kitchen, but hers was shaped by very different life experiences. Born in California and raised in Houston by Vietnamese refugee parents, Christine's family stayed close through food, especially after losing her mom at 14. In her mid-20s, she was diagnosed with a rare disease that made her legally blind. Instead of giving up, she began taking cooking seriously and even started a blog called The Blind Cook. That mindset made all the difference later on. From the moment she auditioned for MasterChef, it was clear she belonged there. Her first encounter with Joe was a bit awkward, but nothing too intense yet.
Hi,
Hi, sir.
I'm Joe, obviously.
I've heard you give mean looks, but luckily I can't see it.
At the end of her audition, the Vietnamese braised catfish she prepared impressed the judges, and Gordon was especially blown away.
Most delicious dishes I've tasted in this competition so far. Do you know what I'm going to give you?
A white apron.
A white apron. Congratulations.
No one talked about her blindness then. She made it deep into the season because her food earned it. By the time the competition reached the final 6, she had already proven that she could handle pressure and deliver results. That's what made Joe Bastianich's comments during the team challenge so hard to justify. Christine was on the all-female red team, led by Becky Reams and including Miriam Carlo. While the contestants ran the kitchen, Gordon was the expeditor, Graham was the sous chef, and Joe handled the front of the house as the head waiter. Then, during a chat among the other judges about Christine, Joe dropped a comment that was way out of line.
Where would you put her in a situation like this?
I would have her at the end finishing a dish.
Definitely coat check room.
No, come on.
She can't see,
Have
damn
you
it.
seen how she puts food on the plate?
Yeah, this is a live kitchen, Michelin-starred restaurant. She can't do it. She's a liability.
No.
Let's see what she does.
This wasn't tough love or honest concern. It was a full write-off that erased all the work she had already done. How does someone reach the top 6 of a national cooking competition and still get written off as useless? Other contestants were also under pressure in an unfamiliar space, yet Joe was treating Christine as a problem before the challenge even started properly. Meanwhile, Christine just kept working, and surprise, surprise, the red team won the challenge. In classic Joe fashion, he later took it all back and owned up to being wrong.
Christine, I told my 2 fellow judges that with your handicap, I thought it would be dangerous to have you in there, and I didn't think you would be able to, quite frankly, do anything. And I was completely categorically wrong. So congratulations on your performance.
But who was he really kidding? Why did it take public success for her skills to be taken seriously when the proof was already there? As soon as the episode dropped, the backlash rolled in fast. People were not quiet about Joe's comment on Christine. One person wrote, "I love Christine. I think she's brilliant. I was really pissed that Joe had the audacity to doubt her when she's come so far." Another said, "That was a really uncalled for comment by Joe, saying to stick Christine in the coat check room and that she's a liability. If she was such a liability, they wouldn't have allowed a visually impaired contestant or even a physically disabled contestant." Someone else added, "I was so pissed when Joe doubted Christine and I was like, you're so wrong. And guess what? He was. I love how Gordon defended her and how everyone helped her walk." Sure enough, Joe went back to his usual playbook during another challenge. And in the end, Christine didn't just survive the season, she won the whole thing. After that, her career took off. Her cookbook became a bestseller. She hosted shows, judged international competitions, and opened restaurants in Houston that earned major industry recognition. In the end, Christine earned her awards by pushing through the kind of challenges Joe Bastianich is known for throwing around. She didn't act like a miracle. She just showed what happens when talent gets the chance to shine despite people like him.